so honored to be here with Marion General's family. We are here to honor the life of General. He was a global leader, really, a fighter for social and economic justice, not just here, not just in the UAW, but around the world. He was a great labor organizer, and he was a great community organizer. He was a revolutionary intellect.
That's right.
And he was a humble man and a gentle soul. We've already talked about it today, but I want to comment on it too. Most here know of General's courageous leadership in taking on both Chrysler and the UAW about the treatment of workers, and especially African American workers, in the Chrysler facilities, and particularly where he worked at Dodge, Maine. He led a wildcat in 1968 to protest the treatment of all workers in those plants, and especially the treatment of African American workers and the lack of African American workers, African American leadership presence in the UAW, and the absence of African American supervision and management in the Chrysler facilities. General's activism and his leadership really changed not just how African Americans were treated in Chrysler, but really throughout the U.S. auto industry and throughout the UAW. On a personal level, I remember the first time I heard about General Baker. To be honest, I was somewhat intimidated by the story of his leadership, the Dodge Revolutionary Union movement, and the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, his activism, and his intellect. And then Jimmy Settles introduced me to General and to Marion. And they were so personal and kind and gentle and supportive. Whatever I've done in the UAW, beginning here at Local 600, whether it was a fight in the coke ovens against the unfair and really racist distribution of incentives, whether it was health and safety struggles with the North Carolina poultry workers, whether it was a Dearborn fight when they passed the legislation to try to limit who could go in the parks in Dearborn, in Local 600, with General's support, Jimmy's support, we took a position on that. We filed a lawsuit on that. Whether when I was at the region, when we did the strike at Johnson Controls to fight for workers' right to organize, whatever my level of progressiveness, I hope I'm remembered as a progressive leader of the union, my level of activism and belief in direct action by workers, a lot of that has been created by my friendship and long relationship with General. In my mind, whenever I think of General, I can't think of General without thinking of Marion. How they were both such strong individual leaders, but how strong they were together. I'm very humbled. I'm really very, very humbled when I think of General and Marion's lifelong commitment to struggle for human rights, worker rights, ending poverty, and speaking truth to power. They're mottos that we all should continue to think about. General's intellect, leadership, activism, his smile, his laughter, his gentle soul we deeply missed in Detroit and the world.
That's right.
I really challenge myself, and I challenge all of you who knew and benefited from General's activism and leadership to both carry on his passion and the struggles for justice, and also we need to think of some way, how do we memorialize General's leadership and contribution to the struggle for human rights, worker rights, and justice for all. On behalf of all of us, I really want to thank Marion and General and Marion's family for their great support. And you know the sacrifices they had to make over the years, so General could be the great leader and activist that he was. I know that I personally, and the UAW institutionally, owe General a great deal for challenging us to be better, both individually and institutionally. If there's ever anything I can do for Marion, for the great Marion and General family, just some small way that would allow me to repay him for all that he's done for us. Thanks very much.
And now we